Well, pour yourself a mint julep. The race is about to begin. Alright, nerds, so Long Shot the Dice game coming to Kickstarter from Perplexed Games. As always, a few little caveats. This is a prototype, so the components may change, some of the rules may be altered slightly, but this is going to give me and you a pretty good idea of what you are going to get when you back Long Shot the Dice game on Kickstarter. So at its core, I would call Long Shot the Dice game a roll and write, because every turn you are going to roll your dice and then take an action based on those dice, and everyone at the table is going to take an action based on your dice roll, and the dice pass to the next player, they roll the dice, then everyone takes another action. The premise of the game is, of course, a horse race. So as you see here, we have the track. All these little blocks are horses, and they're going to do one full circuit of the game. When you roll these dice, one of the dice is a D8, and that corresponds to the horses on the track, and the other one is a D6 with numbers 1 to 3 on it twice. And so you roll the dice, and whichever horse you rolled is going to move the amount of spaces on the D6. So here I've got the horse number 5 is going to move 1 space. So you go to horse number 5. He moves 1 space on the track. And again, he can move up to 3 spaces based on this. And then you refer to that horse's card where other horses are going to move along with him. So how it's set up right now, whenever number 5 moves any amount of spaces based on the dice, number 1 and number 4 are also going to move 1 space. And there are things you can do to change that. You can't have them move like additional spaces, but you can have other horses move along with number 5. So let's say you really want horse number 7 to win. You can go to card number 5, check off horse 7, so that whenever horse 5 moves, number 7 is going to move as well. And then it's going to behoove you to mark that on as many other cards as possible. So once the primary horse is moved and then the secondary horse movement, everyone goes to their actions, and every player is going to get one of these player reference cards. And these are really helpful. Basically, all the rules you need to know for the game are on this card. And this is where you are going to be marking a lot of stuff down, and I'll go over what all these different sections are. But there is an action, like your action options on this card, so it's a really good reference. And you can go to the concessions, you can put a helmet, a jersey, you can actually bet on a horse, or you can buy one of the horses. And before we go into actions, it is important to know that the way you win this game is whoever has the most money at the end of the game. So on this board, you have your little money thing, and it's actually dry erase. So you can erase your money and write the new number in as you spend money or as you earn money. And basically, you're going to be spending your money and manipulating the game to place bets and get the horse that you want to win the race. So going down this little action board, the first action available is concessions. So the horse dice, the die that tells you which horse is going to move, those numbers all appear in this little grid in the top left corner, and that's just you're going to be marking off these little coins of that number. So I rolled the 5, so I can mark off the number 5 coin. And if you ever complete a row or column of these coins, you get to do one of these like bonus free actions. And some of these are just get more money. Some of these are place a bet for free. Some of these let you take other actions for free. Or they can also move the horses. So move a horse forward 3 spaces. Move 2 horses forward 2 spaces. Move a horse backwards 3 spaces. So coins, well, they are limited because there are only so many free actions here you can take, because once you take one, you'll actually cross it off the board. They are a really good way to get some like really powerful one-time use abilities. Next, helmets, and that's every single horse has a helmet on it. And that's useful because if you have the helmet on a horse, you can bet on that horse the whole way around the track. So about 3/4 of the way through the game, there's a red line on the board. And once a horse crosses that red line, you're no longer allowed to bet on that horse. That's pretty obvious because like here we have the 7 is 2 spaces away. Obviously, everyone's going to be wanting to bet like crazy on the number 7 horse because he's like that close to the finish line. So obviously you want to bet on him. So they have this red line here so that once he gets close, you can't bet on him unless you've taken the time to mark a helmet. And now you may be like, oh, well, as soon as they cross that line, just go buy a helmet for them. And you think that, but there's only like 4 spaces between the red line and the finish line. So once you take an entire action just to get a helmet, then you have to wait a whole nother turn. Hopefully the horse hasn't crossed the finish line yet. Then you can bet on that horse. And again, that's only if that horse's number comes up on the dice. Because again, when you bet, which we'll get to in a second, like all the actions have to do with the horse dice. So you are limited. You can't just like bet every single turn on the same horse. Next is jerseys, and this is how you actually get to add on to the horse cards. If you get the jersey, then you can make another horse move along with that horse. And there's also a set collection there as well, because for every helmet and jersey for the same horse that you have, you get an extra $5 at the end of the game. So an extra incentive to get pairs of those. But again, jerseys let you mark off on the horse cards to let the horses that you want to move with the horse that's moving its primary movement, you get to do the secondary movement as well. Next is betting, and this is going to be one of the big ways that you actually make money in the game, and that's by betting on the different horses. So whichever horse is on the die of the horse die that's rolled, you can bet $1, $2, or $3 on that horse. And that is a good little limiter. You can't just bet, everyone starts with $12. You can't just bet all $12 on one horse, because that would like be a little bit overpowered. And then also, like, you'd be out of money and there wouldn't be a whole lot left to do in the game. So you bet $1, $2, or $3 on the horse of the die shown, and then depending on when that horse crosses the finish line, you'll multiply your bet by that number. And the horses actually have different numbers, so like the number 8 horse is actually going to get a bigger multiplier than the number 1 horse. And so like, are you going to bet all your money on that horse early on before you really see what happens, or are you going to spread your bets out? And then last but not least, you can buy the horse, and all the horses have a cost on them. So there's really 2 main advantages to buying a horse. One of them is that at the end of the game, the horse that takes spot 1, 2, and 3 have a payout to whoever owns that horse. So first place gets $35, second place gets $25, third place gets $15. But additionally, all the horses have a special ability on them. And this may be a one-time special ability, or it may be an ability linked to other abilities. So like, whenever you bet on a horse, you can bet for free. Or whenever you take the helmet action, you can also place the bet on that horse. So those special abilities can be really powerful if used properly. And then again, if your horse actually is one of the winners, you're going to have a great payout. Even if your horse gets third place, the most expensive horse out here right now is $10. That's still, you're putting in $10 and you're guaranteed to make $5 on that bet. And that's the whole premise of the game. You go until the third horse crosses the finish line. So you have spots 1, 2, and 3. Any horse that doesn't finish, like, you still get your money back that you bet. All the horses have like a 1-to-1 payout. So if you bet $6 on a horse, you're still going to get $6 at the end of the game. So it's not like throwing your money away, especially because there are some abilities you can unlock that like you may want to spread your bets out, where like every horse you have a bet on, it gives you an additional $2 at the end of the game. So this is a fantastic social game. I'm not going to quite say like a party game, because it's not like wild and crazy and wacky and this is the party. But for a social gathering, you have, a double date night or a couple couples over, or just a bunch of people, because as you can see, it can play a lot of people at the same time. But also, there's like a big social aspect to it, because everybody takes an action on every dice roll. So you're not just waiting for your turn to come around. Like, technically, even if you never get to roll the dice, you're still engaged every single turn. The benefit being that you get to take your action first. But with that, like, it's not like super strategic, because it is based on a dice roll, and it's just betting. So it's fun, it's entertaining, you can have conversations, you can carry on, you can have like drinks and snacks, like definitely like beer and pretzels kind of game, or like mint juleps and popcorn, depending on how your group likes to party. But this fits that perfectly. We had a great time playing this as like a double date night game, because again, you get to carry on conversations. If you like pause the game for a second just because you get talking, there's really no problem with that. You could tell it's really well designed. There are points of like intensity where like the horses are getting close to the finish line, and like, all right, so my 7 is here. I really want 7 to win, so I'm going to take the concessions action to get to move him forward 3 spaces. He's only 1 spot away from the finish line, but then my buddy Ray takes the concession action and moves him back 2 spaces, and then Kat, his wife, who's also betting on the number 1 horse, The same as Ray, she takes her concession action to move 2 horses forward 2 spaces. So now number 1 horse jumps ahead. Number 5 is slowly catching up. And there you have it. I was all set that my 7 was going to be the first one across the finish line. But now he's fallen back a little bit. Number 1 is getting close to the finish line. Like, that makes for a really great game. It's really fun. It's entertaining. It's still really light, so it's really easy to teach. It's really easy for casual or non-gamers to like jump right in and play. You get the rules like that. I think in our first playthrough, I had to reference the rule book 1 time. So I think it really is perfect for that style of game. Now, there is a solo game that you can play as well. I don't actually play solo games, so I can't comment on it. But if you are a solo gamer, then they have that option for you as well. I think this game really does fit in well with most every collection, especially if you like more social games, if you like lighter games, if you like family games. Like, this would be very easy for like young teenagers to pick up. My kids are still too young to play it. My oldest is 4, so I can't really say like at this age they can start playing it yet because I'm not as familiar. The box says 14 and up. That's probably pretty solid to really get it. I'm sure they can play it if they're younger, especially if they're a little bit more mature or if they are already into games. So guys, I think this is going to be a great game to back. If you're already on Kickstarter, then you've already checked out the page. It's time to go ahead and click that big green button. If this is your first interaction with this game, we're going to have a link to the Kickstarter campaign in the description box down below. Click that big green back button. As long as we're talking about clicking on links, there's also going to be a link to Game Toppers in our description. This is the tabletop that we are playing on. Guys, we absolutely love our Game Toppers tabletop. It works perfectly for games, especially like with a dice game. It keeps your dice on the table. You get these nice play mats so that when you're rolling your dice, you don't have that loud rattle. You've got multiple play mats that you can get. So I've got like red on top here, but underneath I've got my blue play mat. So depending on the thematics of your game, or if you are like an Insta gamer and you want to take good pictures and have like dynamic colors in the background. So guys, if you don't have a gaming table, highly recommend that you check out Game Toppers. We've been super happy with them. We're super happy to keep working with them. Either way, I have rambled on long enough. Make sure you subscribe to our channel so you'll never be bored.